was really a challenge because, you know, it was to start the first mobile filling hospital in Bangladesh, and it was incredible because no one believed that it could be done. There had been other hospitals which had been done, but they had not run. And wherever I went, whoever I went to, all they said was, it's not possible, you can't do it. And I had to take that challenge, not because I wanted to take a challenge, but because I deeply and truly felt that there was such a vacuum and such a need for carrying health services to these ultra-poor communities, you know, in the north of Bangladesh, that there was no alternative. Extremely strict on discipline and keeping the line first come, first serve, except for emergencies. That by itself was a natural filter for the rich. The rich did not come, I only had the poor. The poor who were used to sitting on the floor, the poor who were used to standing in line for services which were so needed. And so on this mood, I started work. And I remember promising that we would serve 600 to 1,000 people, and it's synergized today into a whole healthcare system which is serving over 250,000 people a month. One hospital ship have now become 3 hospital ships. We have Emirates Airlines Foundation sponsoring our second ship. We have the Rainbow Warrior 2, which was given to us by Greenpeace and sponsored from Holland and Luxembourg as the 3rd hospital. We have built a 3-tier healthcare system where we try not to let anyone fall through the gap. So I took the whole healthcare system and I kind of put it through a filter. So we have this 3-tier healthcare system, and today we are linking this up to an M-Health model for primary healthcare. You know, health for the ultra poor is one service, but ultra poor is like they're always standing on quicksand, and when you're standing on quicksand, you're not given any opportunity in life, you know, to move on. And my purpose was what we have inculcated in our vision, which is a world where the people, especially the hard to reach and the most unaddressed, will have an opportunity to live their lives in dignity and hope. From health, because our mandate also is to work in very remote areas, in areas where others don't go, in areas where the vacuum is so much that the people are unable to stand on firm ground. For example, these are areas where you have the maximum impact of natural disaster. Continuously, they're in a cycle of being broken and remade. And the people, every time they have to shift, there are people who have to shift 48 times in their lifetime. And every time they shift, it's a direct impact on their economic state because they lose everything. And they cannot come back again to, and it's very difficult for them to come back again to restart their life. So, and then again along the coastal belt is the area where the most severe of all the cyclones are coming continuously. Bangladesh is a country which is #1 in being affected by the climate change, and being a country with 160 million people, 1/4 the size of France, with population density of over 2,000 people per kilometer. Because these were the areas which are always subjected to climate change and the effects of climate change, and also natural disasters are striking these areas the most. The area that we started working in are the shores of the Brahmaputra or Jamuna, and these are islands, they are nomad islands which are continuously shifting, and people are migrating and shifting with it continuously. Some are migrating to different areas, but very often they're migrating to the mainlands, and they're migrating to Dhaka and the bigger cities. So these are migrant communities where every time that they are shifting, they're becoming subject to more and more poverty. Because every time they move, they lose everything that they have. Every little drop of money, capital goods, everything. So movement, migration was directly related to their poverty. These are the areas which are the cyclone-prone areas of the country, and all along the coastal belt of Bangladesh, and that is where we work. So disaster needs to be So we started looking at disaster in a way that people have to be prepared for disaster, and we have we kind of do community managed disaster risk reduction. This means that the communities themselves are prepared before disaster strikes. They are prepared, they identify what their risks are, how they can manage to, you cannot mitigate the risk, but you can prevent the impact happening as badly as it did. Also, after that was pre-disaster. So one thing that they had to do was they had to save. Because at the end of the day, when everything goes away, it's that little saving that they have, and it is, for me, one of the most important components of doing disaster prevention. Saving was what was going to have maximum impact of them after the disaster, and it was an very important component of the friendship model for disaster prevention and addressing disaster. We are having also 6 water plants which are desalination. We are also having 6 desalination plants along the coastal belts. We are trying to find a solution so that this can be sustainable, and there is some amount of sales and income. It's extremely important, because otherwise, if we don't find a model which is sustainable, the need will stay a vacuum. So we are working on a model where the 6 desalination plants we hope will become 50, 100, 500, and people can use the water which these plants provide. After a disaster attack, they need to be given support in every way. Of course, health support is given to them, but they also need access to finance. They need to recreate their livelihood again. So as we started our what we call the Sustainable Economic Development Program, and it kind of led to lending of money also, because we needed to make it sustainable. So after every disaster, the people have to be imbued with elements by which they can restart their life again. And for this, we started what we call the Sustainable Economic Development component of friendship. I remember going to one little island once after the floods, and there was a group of 18 families who had not eaten for 2 days, and they had nothing. They just had their land. They didn't even have a boat by which they could cross to the mainland to get commodities or have access to anything by which they could start their life. What we give them is a kind of a package deal. The package deal is, first we do evaluation, then we give them certain lease financing, then we give them some amount of money if they need it, then we do a lot of training with them, we identify the exact requirements, we give them jobs if needed, and the whole thing is packaged together. So we work with agriculture, we work with fishermen group, and we have started working also with electricity. We wanted for the future was education, and it was, and we started schools. We started our schools. It was incredible challenge, because these were areas where the land was being broken down continuously. You put up a structure, it doesn't work. In these islands, there were full islands where not one person could read and write. How can you make schools here? And we had to, and the fact that you had to bring teachers from somewhere else, actually it wouldn't work, because no one would like to come here when there's a storm going on. They wouldn't like to cross the river, this mighty river Brahmaputra, 30 kilometers across, cross it on a boat and come and just teach in a school and go back in the evening. So we looked at it in a slightly different way. So we decided that we would only take teachers in the community. When I first started friendship, I was extremely having a lot of non-negotiable values and ways of working. The value of dignity, integrity, justice, quality, and hope. This is what we wanted to work with ourselves and what we wanted to give to the community. And people would ask me that why is it that I'm not working with human rights and social rights and governance? And I told them that, after 10 years of friendship, if every one of our employees can say that, yes, this is an organization which deals with which deeply believes in human rights, and they are all treated at least with justice and fairness. The friendship programs of health, nutrition, population of education, access to finance, training, all this is done. They're strong physically and economically, and now they can demand. Now they have the right and the force to demand, so the governance project comes in. The governance project, basically, it is to teach the people about the constitution of the country. Friendship doesn't work project to project. And because it does not work project to project, but works with responsibility to building a community, it is always having to say no. You know, we are doing education, we are doing healthcare, we are doing relief, reconstruction, water, sanitation, we are doing access to finance, preservation of culture. We are having all these components because all these components are important for the growth of the community, but it has to be done in very specific ways.